my beautiful internet friends, and welcome back to my channel. So roughly like a week and a half ago, I did a video called my top 10 must-haves from ColourPop. In that video, I shared with you guys like my must-haves from ColourPop from every single category. Anything ColourPop sold on their website, I mentioned in that video if it was in my top 10 like favorites, you know. I was inspired to do that video from Andrea Milano here on YouTube. I will link her channel down below. She did a top 10 must-have palettes from ColourPop, so I took that and made it just like an overall generalization of makeup products. But I did mention in that video, if you guys wanted to see me do my top 10 must-have palettes from ColourPop, that I would do that video as well, and a lot of you guys commented that you wanted to see that too, so here we are. Here are my top 10 must-have palettes from ColourPop. I feel like some of these are very expected of me and others not so much, but let's go ahead and just start talking about them. I'm gonna start with my favorite monochromatic 9-pan palettes from ColourPop. Now, I love pretty much all of ColourPop's monochromatic palettes. I think they're all amazing. And I think with the monochromatic palettes, you really just have to buy the ones that are like actual colors of makeup you'll wear. Like if you don't wear like blue eyeshadow or purple eyeshadow or like certain colors, then like don't buy those palettes, you know. But for me, there are certain colors that I love to wear when it comes to makeup, especially as like a pop of color. And that is how I did my monochromatic recommendations in this video. You'll see. The first palette I want to mention from ColourPop is the Blue Moon palette. This is ColourPop's monochromatic blue palette, obviously by the name. I just think this is a very well thought out, well coordinated, put together palette. I don't wear blue eyeshadow like a ton. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm not like super into blues, but when I do wear like some sort of pop of color, or if I know I want to do a blue look or use a blue shadow, I almost always go into this palette because all the blues in here are very vibrant. They blend amazingly. I feel like colored eyeshadow, especially like blues and greens and purples, are very hard to nail formula-wise. A lot of the time they can be very patchy, they don't blend very well, and with ColourPop's colored shadows, I've never had that problem. ColourPop's formula with eyeshadows is just immaculate and through. I'm hardly ever disappointed in their quality. And the blues in here are just banging. They're absolutely gorgeous. I will insert some swatches on screen of all the palettes as I talk about them. If you're into the blue eyeshadows, I cannot recommend this palette enough. It's only like, I think $12 for 9 shades. They're all blues, and I think they're all just so pretty. I love that there's an even mixture of mattes and shimmers in here. I don't love palettes that have too many shimmers in them because I'm more of like a matte eyeshadow kind of girl. I usually only do all matte looks or just like 1 or 2 shimmers. So I really don't like palettes that have too many shimmers in there. You'll see that as a like theme here with these palettes. And the mattes in here are just absolutely beautiful. Again, matte blues are just so hard to nail, and these are beautiful. They blend like butter. I did a whole 2 looks in 1 / review video on this palette. I will try to link it above here if I remember to. And I can't recommend this palette enough if you like blue eyeshadow. And also the packaging's super cute. I love moons, clearly, as you guys can see. I'm into the whole astrology, moons, space vibes. That sounded so weird and so like dumb. The next monochromatic palette from ColourPop that is one of my personal favorites and one that I reach for a ton is the Just My Luck palette from ColourPop. This is their monochromatic green palette here. Now, I feel like green eyeshadow is definitely not for everybody. It's not for the faint of heart. I love green, like the color green. I think it's a very pretty color. And I really just think green eyeshadow can be very, very pretty if it's done correctly. And again, just like the Blue Moon palette, the greens in here are very pigmented. They blend like butter. I did a whole review video on this palette as well. I will try to link it above. It's quite older. Not the most proud of the quality in that video, but I still gave this a very good review and I still stand by it to this day. Again, I don't wear green eyeshadow a ton, but when I do grab this palette because it's just so pretty. I know what I'm getting with this palette. I know all the greens are going to be pigmented and just be so buttery and blendable. I love the consistency that ColourPop gives me with their eyeshadows. I love that I'm never like shocked or disappointed or like underwhelmed with their eyeshadows. I'm very impressed with their quality, especially when it comes to these colored palettes. And they're just so small and easily compacted. Like I don't need like a giant blue eyeshadow palette, you know? I would never use that. I would never get my money's worth out of that. I love this is cheap, not cheap as in like cheaply made, but it's you know, inexpensive. And it's small, compact, it has every color I would need. I don't feel the need to own any other blues or greens besides the ones in these 2 palettes. I think that's why me and so many other people do enjoy their 9-pan monochromatic palettes so much. It makes sense, you know, if you only wear like that color eyeshadow. Okay, the last 9-pan monochromatic palette I want to talk about is one that's a bit more user-friendly, a bit more typical, something most people would enjoy, and that is the Baby Got Peach eyeshadow palette. I love my warm tones. You guys know I'm all about the warm tones. I'm not really a cool tone kind of girl, unless I'm playing with like colored makeup, different story. I personally like the way warm tones look on me. I think they're very pretty, very flattering, and I especially love my peaches. And when I want something just very quick, simple, easy, and beautiful looking, the Baby Got Peach palette is a winner in my book. I mean, just look at those really soft, delicate peaches. You can't do like super dramatic looks with this palette, but I don't grab this palette for that reason. If I wanted to do something dramatic, I wouldn't think to grab the Baby Got Peach palette, but I think that's why I like this palette so much, because it's so simple, so easy. I know what I'm getting with this palette. I know like I can do a very quick, easy, go-to makeup look with this. It's just simple, but I don't mean that in like a negative way. It's simple in the best way possible. And I think of the 3 monochromatic palettes I'm mentioning, I recommend this one the most universally to everybody because everyone loves peach. You know, everyone loves peaches. I don't know anyone who doesn't like the color peach on their eyes. No matter what eye color you have, I feel like peaches and like warm tones in general really enhance your eye color. You could have blue, green, brown eyes, it doesn't matter. I feel like warm tones just really bring your color out in your eyes. I think this is a very simple palette. It's something I think a lot of people would enjoy. Okay, we're gonna flip the script here and we're gonna jump into ColourPop's bigger palettes here. This palette I won't spend too much time talking about because I've mentioned it so many times on my channel. I even mentioned it in my top 10 must-haves from ColourPop. The ColourPop Bare Necessities palette. I have been so obsessed with this palette recently. It has been my everyday go-to palette for months at this point. I don't remember when I bought this palette. I want to say it was around Christmas time, but ever since then this has become like my everyday go-to quick, easy eyeshadow palette. It's just amazing. I know what I'm getting out of here. This has every color under the sun I could ever need for a like very neutral, easy look. Again, I really don't play with colored eyeshadow that often, so a palette like this with every neutral, whether it be warm tone, cool tone, mauve, silver, gray, black, it just has every neutral eyeshadow I could ever need all in one palette. So it doesn't matter what kind of eyeshadow look I want to do, as long as I'm keeping it neutral, this is the palette I will go to. It is very dirty and very busted. You can tell this palette is very, very loved in my collection. It's so easy and so simple. I feel like this is so perfect for the majority of people out there because most people are doing looks with these colors on a daily basis. I'm not gonna keep rambling on about this palette because you guys know I love it, but it's a really good item. It's a product that adds value to my collection. Somebody did comment on one of my videos that they wanted to see me do a video about like products that add value to my collection. This is one of them. This is a great item to have. It's a must-have, I feel like, universally for everybody. You gotta try it. The next palette I want to talk about is the So Jaded by Kathleen Lights and ColourPop. This is the palette I have on my eyes right now. I did film a chit chat get ready with me video today on this look that you see right here on my face. That will be up after this video. It'll be up sometime in the next week, but I did use this palette for this look. This palette is definitely not going to be for like everybody, but it's not super different at the same time, if that makes sense. And I'm not saying that in a negative way whatsoever. I mean that in a very good way. This palette, it's still very approachable and user-friendly, and it's very pigmented, buttery, you know, all the good qualities that ColourPop has throughout all their eyeshadow palettes. It has all those qualities. But with this one, this is not going to be for the faint of heart. This is not going to be for, you know, someone that would use Bare Necessities on a daily basis. It's very different than the Bare Necessities palette. The Bare Necessities palette is more for people who just stick to neutrals. They don't dabble, they just use, you know, brown eyeshadow every day. And there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. The So Jaded palette here is for those that still like their neutrals, but they want a little bit of spunk. They want a little bit of flavor. They want some spice in their life. Because these colors are still very approachable and still very wearable. The colors in here are a lot brighter than the Bare Necessities. They're a lot more unique. There's more like jewel tones in this palette. It is a jewel based palette. I didn't say that super correctly, but y'all know what I mean. These colors are just more vibrant, they're more poppin', but they're still so easy and so wearable. So if you're somebody that wants like a little bit of color in your life, you want some sort of spunk, you want your eyes to make a statement, I feel like the So Jade palette is the palette for you because you still get very easy neutral looks out of this palette. Like I could use this palette every single day and create like a very easy go-to looks, but I could also spice it up. I could add that lime green to my warm tone look like I did today. I could use these cranberry shades or add opal to my lid and just like have that beautiful blue flecky shimmer everywhere. You could still do basic looks but also spice it up. I feel like that is why I love the So Jaded palette so much. Plus the packaging on this, gorgeous. Kathleen, ColourPop, you're always killing it with the packaging. Oh my god, speaking of Kathleen Lights and ColourPop, okay, I went through all of my ColourPop palettes and I tried to find 2 other palettes to replace the ones I'm going to mention right now, and I just couldn't. I couldn't think of any other palettes that were this special to me, that I use that often, that could be easily duped out with these two palettes I'm going to mention right here. Unfortunately, I don't know why. I don't know who decided this. I don't know. But for some reason, the Kathleen Lights, the Zodiac palette, and the Kathleen Lights Dream Street palette are both no longer available on ColourPop's website, and I wasn't gonna mention them in this video, but I could not find any other ColourPop palette that like remotely compared to these two. I just couldn't. And I don't know why they discontinued these palettes. These are beautiful palettes. They're so amazing. Let me tell you why. I'll start with Dream Street because Dream Street you can literally no longer find like at all on ColourPop. Like it's gone. I think I did see it on Amazon, but it's probably super overpriced and I can't guarantee it's the actual same palette, you know? But the Kathleen Lights in Dream Street palette is just, it's a beautiful palette. It's one of my favorite palettes like of all time. Again, it has my warm tones in here that y'all know I love so much, but it also has these beautiful blues in here and that poppy shade, and just, I love the color scheme of this palette so much. It's different, but still very simple and wearable and usable. And I don't know why ColourPop and Kathleen got rid of it. I don't know whose idea that was. I'm pretty sure they said from the get it was limited edition. I just didn't want to believe it. But after like, what, 2 years? This palette's been on the market for like 2 or 3 years now. They finally got rid of it and I'm just very heartbroken over it. So I didn't want to mention it, but I figured I would be lying if I didn't. So the Zodiac palette's also no longer available on ColourPop. You guys know how much I love this palette. I have a whole series on my channel dedicated to this palette. My whole Zodiac series. I use this palette in every single video, all 12 videos. I use this palette to create a look. You guys know I love it. Look at Libra. Look at how much I fit pan on Libra. Like, you guys know, like, this is a very essential palette in my collection. I could never part with this palette because I love the color story in here. It's beautiful. I love the meaning behind it. You guys know I'm a whore for astrology. It's like my favorite thing on the planet to talk about and research and learn about. The packaging is super freaking cute. I don't know why it's gone. Even though the palette itself is gone, like it's gone for good, I do think the single shadows of all of these shadows are still available on ColourPop's website because Kathleen ColourPop did release these single versions of these eyeshadows. So if you don't own this palette, which I don't know why you wouldn't have, it's been several years since it came out, but anyways, if you don't own this palette, you could still buy certain shades in here that maybe you want to add to your collection in a single eyeshadow form, and you could probably recreate this whole palette like in a little empty magnetic palette. It's not going to be the same, it's not the same like vibes, but you could recreate it if you wanted to, if your heart desired. I will say the neutrals in here are more cool tone in comparison to the Dream Street palette, so I didn't love the browns in this palette, but the pops of colors in here are why I really like this palette so much. Plus, it's just a fun palette. I think it's very different. Again, it's approachable, but still like different, like you still get some fun to the palette. I feel like Kathleen's whole vibe is like approachable but fun. Like that's Kathleen's like whole thing. And you guys know I love Kathleen. I think she's amazing. She is just very hardworking and she has a very kind soul and spirit. I adore her so much, so that's why I mentioned like all 3 of her ColourPop collabs. I didn't even realize I did that until this moment. Whoops. But yeah, you can't unfortunately get Dream Street and Zodiac anymore, but you could still get the singles of Zodiac, I'm pretty sure. So that's that. Okay, moving on, we have 3 palettes left here. One palette I've mentioned several times on my channel before from ColourPop that y'all know I love and adore. The Through My Eyes palette by I Love Sardian ColourPop. For one, again, the packaging on this, so dope, so cool. ColourPop always kills the packaging. And again with this palette, it has the neutrals that y'all know I love. It has the warm tones, but it also has, you know, it has some fun in there. It has some spunk. This palette in particular I go to for like the mustardy tones in here, the mustard tones, the green tones. That's why I like this palette so much. I love just the mustardiness of it. I know it sounds so weird. I know people don't usually think of mustard when they think of makeup, but like, hi, I'm Allie, welcome to my channel. Nice to meet you. I love me some mustard tones. I think they're beautiful. Plus this color right here, Flex. So beautiful. It's like silver, but purple, but brown. It looks very mesmerizing on the eyes. It's so pretty. Every time I wear Flex, people compliment my makeup so much. Like, oh my god, the eyeshadow is so pretty. I'll do a little swatcheroo of that one for you so you can see its true beauty. Okay, that swatch looks really pathetic and it doesn't even show how beautiful that shade actually is. Hold on, let me redo that. Okay, that's a bit better. It looks so pretty on the eyes. You have to trust me, this shade on the eyes, beautiful, out of this world. It's like so unique and so different. Everyone and their mother always compliments how pretty that particular shade is every time I use it. This palette isn't like a huge palette in my opinion, but it still gives you a lot of quality in the palette. Like, you get a lot of different color stories in here. You got cranberries, warm tones, mustards, greens, purples. Like, you get a lot in here for the size of the palette. I hate palettes that are like huge, but like 10 of the shades are very similar. I cannot stand that. Like, that drives me absolutely nuts. Because I like having diversity in my palettes. I want different colors. I don't need 2 shades that are like a slightly different undertone. You know, I don't want that shit. I want diversity. I want difference. I want different colors. That's another reason why I like this palette so much. You just have such a diverse color scheme in this palette, and I think it's beautiful. Plus, there's a mirror in here. Y'all know I love my mirrors. So the next palette is another collab. Apparently, I really enjoy my collabs from ColourPop. This is the Salva Heat palette by Becky G and ColourPop. I believe I also mentioned this palette in like my top 10 all-time favorite eyeshadow palettes. I'm pretty positive, and it's for a good reason. Again, I feel like a broken record here, but it does have the warm tones I love in here. It has some pops of color. I feel like that's what I look for in palettes. I love my warm tones, but I still like having some sort of pop of color in the mix. So yeah, just like the other palettes, I have my warm tones in here that really bring out my eye color that I love and adore so much. It has cranberries in here. Wow, I really look for the same things in all my palettes, huh? I do love that the pops of color in here are mattes and not shimmers. I think that's very different and unique to this palette. I feel like when most people do collabs or any kind of eyeshadow palette, they always make the pop of color a shimmer, which is great, and that's honestly more approachable for most people, but these ones are mattes, and that's why I like this palette so much. I think a matte colorful shadow is very underrated on the eyes. It can be so pretty if done correctly, and I feel like a lot of people don't really do that, so that's why I like this palette. I like the matte color choice. Alright, so the last palette I'm going to mention in this video is a very, very basic palette. It is very universal in my opinion. I think a lot of the same thoughts about this palette as I do the Bare Necessities. It's just smaller and more... You'll see. Anyways, the ColourPop California Love palette. I know, this is a very basic palette. Literally, you cannot get any more basic than this besides the Bare Necessities. But the difference between this palette and the Bare Necessities is the California Love palette is literally just warm tones and golds. If you only wear warm tones and golds, I cannot recommend this palette enough for you. The shimmering golds in here, they look like wet metal on your eyes. They are so mesmerizing and so beautiful. And the mattes in here are just so pretty. They complement the gold so freaking well. I love this palette in like the summertime because with tan skin, a bold red lip in this palette, it's a look, it's a vibe, it's very, very pretty, very, very simple, but still just like, wow, like she looks like a goddess, you know? That's why I mentioned this palette last, because it's very, very basic. It's something we've seen on the market 1,000 times over. I know a warm tone eyeshadow palette is not unique or different in any way, shape, or form, but this one's pretty awesome in my opinion. I love that this is like super small and compact as well. Like, it's not like a huge giant palette filled with warm tones. I like that it's smaller, but you still have everything you need in here. So if you like the idea of the ColourPop Bare Necessities, but you like warm tones more than anything else, that's mainly what you wear, plus you don't have the space for a big palette like that, California Love is where it's at. Plus, again, the cute little gold palm trees, adorable. So yeah guys, that was my top 10 palettes from ColourPop. Super basic, super boring. They're all very similar, but these are my top 10 favorites, and if you are looking for a palette from ColourPop, these are the ones I'd recommend. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and hopefully I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.